Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Basil Builds. I am, as ever, your host, Basil Thistleton Smythe, and we have been gone quite a long time. There have been some technical difficulties and just real-world insanity, but we are now back, and we are ready to continue finishing this Gunpla model. If you've forgotten, because I almost did, we are working on the Force Impulse Gundam from Gundam Seed Destiny, and we are on pretty much the final step for this model. It is the panel lining step, and I've got my Tamiya panel line accent color, and I've got my Mr. Color thinner, and I've got a crap ton of I don't want to say Q-tips because that's the brand name, but the you know what they are. Anyway, and we are going to get this model panel lined and dried and then put back together, and that will be it for this model. So before we begin, I'm going to get some of my little paint thinner here, and I'm going to put it in a small cup. This is actually a Ben & Jerry's shot glass that I have. Put a little bit in there just so I can just dip that in there to clean off my cotton buds. That's what they're called, cotton buds. And then also to wipe them off on this stuff here. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to get started. Now, if you remember from last time I did this on one of my models, this panel line accent color, this black stuff, it is not the best for the plastic that these models are made out of. So you have to be really careful while you're actually using them. You don't want to put too much on, or you're going to end up doing some damage to your models. And I have done that to one too many models. A couple of models I screwed up because I didn't realize that this stuff is kind of bad for them. So I'm going to start with a small piece here with the head. You can see that there. And as always, I will probably do a couple pieces and then speed this up using time lapse if the great Grumpy Panda editor will allow me. Mix up your panel line here and get started. We're going to get started on the head, and then we will continue on. Like I said, I'll probably speed up this video because otherwise it'll be like a 3-hour video. But as you can tell, as I've done before, this panel lining stuff is great because it kind of seeps into the panel lines without having to be too exact. And then what you do is you just wipe off the excess when you're done. As you can see here, I am adding it to all these lines here. I am laying it on kind of thick. But that just means that I've got some really good coverage. And I'm also going to be avoiding, obviously, anything that has decals on it already, because you don't want to cover the decals up. It's kind of silly. So we give it a good bath. And you can use as much as you want. Just realize that it will make the plastic a little brittle, so you have to be super careful with it when you're drying it off. The whole idea behind panel lining is, of course, as I've discussed before, to really make your model pop. And let's see, I'll do a little bit around the V-fin here, just a little bit. Give it some definition, because it'll get mostly wiped off anyway. All right, so, and also the neck crease back there, don't forget that. Okay, so that's pretty good coverage on this one. So what we're going to do is we're going to need this to dry completely before wiping it off. So I'm going to set this down over my paper towel over here. Let it rest to dry. And as that's doing, I'm going to go work on the next piece. So let's see, I'm going to start on the right arm here. So I'm going to grab it with my reverse pressure tongs. These are great because literally you squeeze them to open them up, and when you're not squeezing them, they stay closed. So it's a lot easier to hold on to stuff with this instead of trying to squeeze it the whole time you're holding it, because then you end up just not having a good time. All right, so this one's pretty secure. I'm going to go ahead and start covering this guy with some panel lining. Dip it in, get a little bit on there. Just really paint it on here. Now, the reason I like this panel line ink wash better than the the panel line markers that you can use. The panel line markers are great. They are really quick, but you have to be really precise with them, or it helps to be really precise with them, and I am not that great with detail work like that. I prefer going over stuff and then being able to erase afterwards to show that, to make it look cleaner and better. So I prefer this stuff, and because it gets in the nooks and crannies a lot better than I can with a panel line pen. It's probably a little too much on this one, but that's okay. The stuff will wipe off as long as you let it dry completely before trying to take it off. Otherwise, if you don't let it dry completely, what happens is you just get streaks and it won't wipe off very well, and you end up having to go back and do it again, and you might end up wiping too much off, so you have to go back and panel line it again, and then let it dry properly that time, and then wipe it off. So it's easier to do it right the first time, and you don't have to worry about it again. So this is pretty well covered. As you can see, if you look close, you can see the screw up I did on the top of the shoulder panel there that I tried to fix. And you'll see the other one is much better. But let's take another quick look here. There's not much detail on this HG model, I will say, which isn't bad. I mean, it's a quick put together model. There's not too many decals or anything like that. So the detail is not going to be all that high. It's more of an anime accurate model, because obviously the anime version of the mecha is not going to be super detailed, because then it would be impossible to draw and animate it every time it's on screen unless you're doing a really close-up shot. So that's perfectly fine. I mean, a lot of people love the way it looks in the anime. I like the real robot kind of look, so I enjoy extra detail and extra decals, stuff like that, extra panel lining, extra panels to line. In fact, some people love panel lines so much that they will actually scribe their own panel lines with a scribing tool. And that is, well, first of all, I'm super impressed that anybody can do that. I mean, well, they have these tools that are designed to scrape into the plastic properly so that you can make your own panel lines. But like, being able to do that is awesome, and it's also super intimidating. I don't think I'd ever try to do that, though I could see, when you see examples of somebody who has taken a stock kit and then added panel lines to it of their own, they usually come out super good looking, like really great. So I definitely see the appeal. I don't know if it's something I'll ever get into. Like, I can just imagine you needing really steady hands for that. All right, so this one's done. And I'm going to work on the rest of these. And I will probably let's do a little fast forwarding for this one right before I start the torso here. Okay, so now it is time to dry and clean these pieces. And that means working with paint thinner and a cotton swab. Let's get started. I'm going to start with the head, because that's the first thing I ink washed. Take a little bit of my thinner solution here, wipe some of the excess off on the paper towel, and just start very gently rubbing it off. You want to kind of go perpendicular to the panel lining. So in this case, just clean it up a bit. You see how it's just wiping clean there. And, oh, careful. The trick to this, as always, is to use more cotton swabs than you think you need. Because once this cotton swab gets soaked with the ink wash, it doesn't clean as well. So you want to use the other end to finish cleaning the spots you hit, and get a new one to continue the process. Or you can just dip that end in there a little bit and keep going to work. There we go, that's nice. That's much better. Whoop! He went flying. Did you see that? He popped right off my, that's pretty funny. Let's see, let's try that again, huh? New one. Oh no, look at that! See what I told you? How this stuff can really eat away at your plastic? My V-fin broke off. Now that's fine, I have some model glue, I can put that back on. But it's gonna be, that's what I told you, you have to be really careful with this stuff. Because it will eat through the smaller bits of your plastic very quickly and very easily. So, thick, big pieces of plastic, nothing to really worry about. Little pieces like that, you're going to potentially have a bad time. So, now I have cleaned this up pretty much as it can be. There we go. Just going to be careful with the other V-fin. I want that one to pop off too. It's already a pain putting one on. There we go. As you can see, pretty clean for the most part. Back to where he was originally. But now there's a little more depth in the sides here, especially the back. So I'm going to put this guy back down here. Then I'm going to start with the next piece, which will be one of the arms. The next guy I did was this one here. So this one I'm not as worried about pieces flying off because this is much thicker plastic. A lot more stuff on it. Now you have to pay attention to make sure you're picking up the right cotton balls here, cotton swabs here. Alright, so let's get to wiping this stuff off. This will show you more clearly how this stuff wipes off. As you can see, starting to clean up very nicely. It's only left over where you have panel lines. As you can see. You take a dry side and just give it a wipe. There you go. Of course, the more ink you used originally, the more work it's going to be to get it off. So that's something you need to be aware of, obviously. Actually, I don't need the... I just grab the nub here. A little bit easier for me to move and maneuver. This was pretty dirty, so I'm going to get a new one. Like I said, you're going to go through a lot of cotton buds if you use this process. So that's why they're so cheap, luckily, because you can use a whole bunch of them. You have a whole bunch of them. Don't be afraid to use them on your cleanup. Don't be stingy. There's no reason for it. Just give it a good wipe on the dry side. Get the rest of the residue off. As you can see, it's pretty clean. And the same for the corners up here. The one thing that panel lining will also do, it will show you where your biggest screw-ups were. So you really can't hide your sins with panel lining like this. At the same time, you know what? It's all about the process. It's all about enjoying yourself. I'm not a competitive model builder. I've only been doing it for a couple of years. I have my own standards of quality that I like to hold myself up to, but you know what? I also have to keep in mind that I am still learning, and I don't have the tools or the experience that some of the other model builders have. And I also don't have the patience that many model builders have to take really, really, really painstaking steps. But you know what? My models come out pretty cool. I'm happy with them. I'm constantly adding to my skill set. There we go. That's oop, almost missed that spot in there. Let's get you out of there, huh? Clean you up. There we go. And that's that. That's the arm. All right, so I'll pause it here, and then when I start up again, I will be doing some fast forward. All right, so all these pieces have been panel lined and dried and cleaned up. So now, what's left? It's time to put together this model again. This is always the fun part. I get to stick everything back together, put the arms back on like this one here, this arm over here on, put these down like that, put the legs back on, just put them right in the pegs here, flip that up. 1 and 2. Put the leg flaps back down. Put the hand with the good old laser rifle in there. Put the shield arm back on. Just wear this little peg right there. Last but not least, let's put the head back on this guy here. And as you can see, I fixed the boo-boo I made. And finally, the last piece is this big old honking backpack here, which goes on these 2 little pegs in the back. Go right in there. And here we go. We have a fully completed Force Impulse Gundam from Gundam Seed Destiny. He is completely done. And he is a big boy because he's got this big backpack. So next time you'll see him, he will be in a place of honor in my cabinet. But there you are. This concludes this build. Next, we're going to be working on something different. Actually, something from the same series. It's going to be the Infinite Justice Gundam from also Gundam Seed Destiny. Been holding on to this gun for a while. Can't wait to get started on this one next. But until then, this is Basil Thistleton Smythe. It's been a while. This is Basil Thistleton Smythe signing off, hoping you all have a wonderful day. As always, as my daughter Ellie says, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a great day, guys, and I am glad that I am back.